That's for later. So, back at home, the way we play around in class, I've been called Batman, so coming to talk at the Heroes Roundtable like this is a perfect place to be. What I'm going through, and the slide is screwed up. As you practice for your hero's journey, martial arts is a great place to do it from. Every time you go through the ranks, you have new material, you have new techniques, new forms, you have new development to work on, plus starting to understand the past material better. In our Taekwondo class, we have a whole bunch of forms just to get to the first level of black belt. Now, there's a piece that comes into there. Black belts aren't degrees. The word Dan actually means step. So you are first step. So our Taekwondo class takes 4 years to get through to that first step. All the colored belts in the beginning are high school. First Dan becomes an associate's degree. Second Dan is a bachelor's. By fourth, you have a master's degree. Now, the physical techniques of martial arts is only 10% of what you're actually learning. We always hear about martial arts being a good way to discipline and focus and gain control, but it's not in the physical techniques that do that. The discipline comes from going to class regularly, putting in the effort, making sure that you try. I was chatting with someone earlier. I would love to do martial arts, but I don't have time. Well, time is fine. If you're willing to commit 1 day a week, you commit 1 day a week. You just expect to not progress like someone who goes 3 days a week. You still have your discipline. You still have your focus. You control what happens. Our Gumdo program, which is the part I'm playing today by the sword, is 2 years to black. But there's a different amount of knowledge, experience that's expected by that then. So you don't have as much of a depth of understanding as a 4-year student would. So black belts are cool, but not all black belts are the same. They mean you've achieved something, you've worked for something. In that, there's 10 steps in the Taekwondo, there's 7 in the Gumdo. So you've taken 7 steps toward becoming your hero. Oh, and I already talked about that part. The principles that come into play, the respect. We spar Taekwondo. Our Taekwondo is old school sparring. It's not the Olympic style that you see in most of the video put out. But that respect that's developed comes from not breaking each other. Now, we come in, we decide we're going to have a certain level of contact, or they're this big. And yes, my students that are this size spar with me, and they beat me up regularly because that's my job, right? If I scare them, if I'm disrespectful to them and scare them off, they don't come back to class, now they have fear, they're not creating their hero. So yes, they beat me up. And they know that I'm kind of giving it, letting them have their way, but they need to develop that experience, create that understanding of what they're trying to accomplish and how they're going to do it. Excuse me. A lot of the discipline is just showing up. A lot of the respect is acknowledging that all of you are on the same path. Your control fits into everything that happens then. Sparring. I'm not a small guy, so when I end up sparring against guys bigger than me, they'd like to hit a little harder. Okay, fine. But that means I can't get mad because we're playing a game together. If I don't want to play that hard, tell them. I've got one student who doesn't realize how heavy his hands are. They hit you, you know you got hit. But he works at not doing that. He works at making sure he has the control so he doesn't injure people. The worst thing that's actually happened is one of our little guys sparred against him, and he blocked with an arm, and the little guy didn't have shin pads on, so he went home with a bruised shin. Knowing what you're doing and why becomes an important factor in this. And this is where all of the work that comes up. Would you grab that, please? So, as Matt introduced, the day after everything was posted online, I had seen Samantha Sword's video and recognized that this is a place to be to give information about how to become a better hero. A lot of people have talked about their successes and where they're striving to. So it's trying to look at it from the other side. How do you prepare? That preparation is in the education that you get. Iron Man didn't become Iron Man without being smart, without learning how to do things, how to build things. Batman didn't become the scientist and the great detective that he is without learning. And all of that work then puts you under stress. It makes you practice responding under stress. That's why they win fights. They function better under stress. The speaker before us talked about the brain function that fits in completely with all of stress. The more stress you're under, the more gross motor skills disappear. That can be anything from being in a physical confrontation to taking your history test or your math test, or driving down the freeway and the deer comes flying out of the ditch. Now, if you actually have been under stress and recognize it, work from it, use it to your advantage, then you'll have better responses. Those responses will help you succeed more in everything you do. Those responses help in your daily life work. I regularly use customer service as an example. Watching someone walk up to you who is very obviously frustrated, upset, maybe angry. They want you to solve their problem. If you can tell that by the way they walk up to you, you already have ideas on what to do to help them solve the problem, rather than fighting with them as you go. You also have the ones that come up and they just want help, and they're good with whatever you do for them, and then they go away. Those are the kind of people you always want to work with. Solve the problem easily. The sparring that I mentioned earlier is a friend of mine from Canada, Randy King. He uses the term high-speed problem solving. So the more you work at problem solving, boxing is a very good one for it, martial arts sparring is a very good one for it. Every time your opponent moves, the problem changed. Whoever solves the problem first scores, gets their technique to work. If I can do that faster, then I win. Well, whatever winning really is, other than being successful. Banging on each other is a little bit of fun, but it doesn't do anything to help me outside. Now, I'm not going to go out and start hitting people because I know I can do it quick. Bill Wallace, if any of you guys have heard of him, Bill Superfoot Wallace, when he talks, he makes the comment that it's always fun when it's my turn, it's never fun when it's their turn. Which means the more he can solve problems, the faster you can solve the problems, the longer it stays his turn. Which is why he was 23-0 as a full contact middleweight fighter, with only being able to throw 3 kicks because the other leg was bad. Solve the problem, figure it out. Okay. So now, we'll get on to the finale. Yes, this is not just up here for looking cool. Thank you.
The Hero Roundtables are the global events that ask the question, what is a hero? You've just seen one hero talk. To find more and join the conversation, visit our website or social media.